I'm here to listen. Why am I walking on this way?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Muse's AT Podcast, where you can relive my epic journey with me. This is Muse, and today we're going to jump into a fun trail story that had a number of touch points with mine. Today, I'm talking to Pastor Frank and Frogger. How are you guys?
Good.
Doing great.
Awesome. I am finding that at the beginning of these conversations, I like to take it forward from Springer Mountain. Of course, most of my guests are Sobos, so I'm talking about taking it forward from the end, getting those post-trail updates. I have a specific question for you guys first about the finish, because I actually just got done talking to Spicy and Ribbit, even earlier this week, and came to realize that you guys finished like within a day of each other. Like you guys were like the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, I believe.
Yeah.
I think they said about the same. Did you guys end up running into them or no?
No, we didn't. We were just behind them the whole way.
Yeah.
Okay.
I never actually met them, unfortunately.
I met them a couple times in Maine, and they were one of those names that you just keep seeing in the logbooks. And one day you're 4 days behind, the next day you're a day behind. And yeah, I think they finished the day before us.
Yeah, they were ahead of us the whole way.
Yeah. And when we were together at Devil's Backbone, I want to say they were probably 2 to 3 weeks ahead at that point of you guys. And I was a good 1 to 2 weeks behind you on trail. But like you caught up to where it was within a day. But you guys really hit it at the end, didn't you?
We were grinding at the end.
Yeah, I think we averaged 20 miles a day, you know,
The last month.
just like zeros included, just to get to Springer before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah, you literally trail ran the Smokies there, right?
We trail ran post Damascus.
Yeah.
Damascus to boots off.
Nice. So take us into post-trail then, since the trail. Like, what have you guys been up to?
Well,
it's been a lot, I know.
Yeah. Pastor Frank is originally from the Detroit area. I am
raised.
not, but here we both are.
Yes.
So I moved here to Detroit after the trail. So I finished around Thanksgiving, and then 2 months later, she flew down to Texas, where I'm originally from, where my stuff was, bought a one-way ticket, and then we drove up to Detroit in a U-Haul in the snow. It was quite a journey up here. And then I moved in here to Detroit February
1st.
Yeah.
We pulled
February
in.
1st.
Pulled in.
Awesome. And Frogger, it sounds like, I've been following you online, of course. It sounds like you're loving Detroit. Maybe talk about that for a minute.
Yeah. I'm loving Detroit now. February 1st is a tough time to move anywhere that is as cold as it is here.
Especially when you're from Texas, right?
Yes.
We had a 3-week cold snap where it didn't get above freezing for 3 weeks, and he moved right at the start of that.
Yeah.
So that was hard.
And like no snow. So when it's that cold and there's no snow, it's just kind of the worst parts of winter.
Right. At least throw the fun of snow in there, right?
Right. Yeah. So none of that. So that was tough. But then, the sun comes out and suddenly you feel like invincible again. And this will never go away. Winter's not coming this year. It'll be fine. So it's so much better now. And we've been able to do some hiking up in Michigan and explore a bit of the state. So that's been fantastic.
Cool. Yeah. You guys were on like the Upper Peninsula, right? Like maybe talk a little bit about that trip, because I saw some pictures from that too. It looked awesome.
Yeah, we did along Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore at the very tip of the Upper Peninsula on Lake Superior. The North Country Trail actually runs through there. So we did a little 40-mile stretch just over a weekend, and that was good. You got to see the UP.
Yeah, we're Appalachian Trail through hikers and North Country Trail section hikers.
Yes.
We've done 42 miles of the 4,200 miles.
All right, cool. I mean, I think, my next, actually, I do have my next thing planned now. It's funny because the way things are going right now, it'll be in the past by the time this airs.
Okay.
But I am jumping back on trail with Shotgun and Ratatouille.
That's right.
Cool.
In July.
Yeah, in July. Yeah. So looking forward to that. And so I'm going to be a section hiker next too.
That's fun. That's awesome.
Still going south, though.
Still going south, of course, right? The trail you guys did, and say the name of it again. I'm sorry, I had already let it slip.
It's
North Country?
It was, the North Country Trail, but we were in the Pictured Rocks section.
Okay.
Of it.
Okay, nice. And that one runs east-west, right? It's not a north-south, so you couldn't go south anymore.
Right. We were
Yeah.
wobos.
Wobos, okay. Nice. All right, back to the beginning. I want to first, before we even get into the AT part of this conversation, talk about your hiking history. And I thought I'd start the conversation with Pastor Frank because I understand that it was not your first long through hike. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what led us up to the PCT through hike and how you ended up on the Appalachian Trail? Go ahead, take it from there.
So I hiked the Pacific Crest Trail in 2021, and that was really my first big backpacking trip ever. I knew about the Appalachian Trail because my mom has been into the Appalachian Trail my entire life. So I knew about the AT, and it didn't have that much of a pull to me then growing up, but I had read Wild, the classic
Okay.
story that everyone reads, and learned about the Pacific Crest Trail.
I saw the movie. I heard that the book was a lot better because the movie, frankly, wasn't very good.
Yeah, the book was better.
Okay.
And it gets a lot of hate, but I thought it was a great memoir.
So does Walk in the Woods.
Yeah,
It's a lot of
everyone
hate,
likes
but
to
it's
hate on them.
still good.
So I read that and learned about the PCT and really, for the first time, thought about distance backpacking, and the idea really appealed to me. But at the time in my life, I was just not in a place where I had a full-time job and was in like a very serious long-term relationship. And so just leaving for 5 months wasn't an option. And so I kind of just put that idea away. Like, maybe in another life that would be cool, but that's just not realistic for me right now.
Yeah.
And then maybe a couple years later, things really blew up in my life, and I kind of had the opportunity to start over. And the first thing I thought was I could hike this trail now. And so I did. I applied for the permit and got the permit, and really with no backpacking experience, did the PCT.
Awesome. Just jump right in.
Yeah. Kind of learn as you go, and I loved it. But the PCT really beat me down. It was a tough trail. And so by the end of the PCT, I was just ready to be done. And I finished, and I said I'd never do another through hike just because I was so worn out. Definitely was like ready to adventure and travel and get into all that. But as far as another long distance backpacking trip, I was like, I don't know if I'll ever do that again. Maybe it's time to like settle down and think about buying a house or something.
What? You thought about growing up? What?
Yeah. And then a couple years later, the itch came back, and I was like, I don't need a house. Like, I'd rather take that money and put it into another through hike.
Yeah.
So Then the AT got on my mind, and like, as we all know, I feel like through hiking is addicting. There's just nothing like that experience. And so I was just craving that experience again. And so then I kind of turned my sights to the AT almost a little last minute. I had kind of toyed with the idea of doing a northbound through hike of the AT, but again, wasn't like very seriously planning it. And so the time kind of came and went. And then right around April of last year, the idea just got stuck in my head again. And I just like couldn't let it go. And so I figured I could make a southbound through hike happen, because I very much am like, if there's something you want to do, you just do it. Like,
Yeah.
figure it out, make it happen. And so I was very much on that one track mind of, okay, I'm going to hike the AT. I've been tossing around this idea for a year. Might as well just do it. I can make a southbound happen if I really try. And so I, in April, decided, and then in June was hiking south. And this time ending the AT, when I ended the PCT, I was like just so beat down, and I didn't have that feeling on the AT. I like wanted to keep going.
Yeah. And I guess to some degree, at least what you say about the AT there, it's not surprising to hear you say that, because you guys finished so strong.
Yeah,
right?
we did.
So like, yeah, you didn't feel beat down. The trail could have been 400 miles longer and you'd have been fine, right?
We were just having, I feel like, just such a good time. I mean, I had the time of my life on the PCT too, but I was just having such a great time on the AT that it could have kept going forever.
Well, and I think if it wasn't for Thanksgiving is coming up,
we would have.
There might have been.
Down.
Well,
yeah.
and there also might have been even more of like, oh, I wish I could keep going.
Yeah.
But Thanksgiving did kind of provide that, hey, let's go back and see our families. So there was a desire for it to end, even if maybe the desire to.
And I had to get back to work eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah. All that, of course, makes sense. I have a couple follow-ups, but before we go there, I kind of want to hear from Frogger too. So what led up to the AT for you, Frogger?
I had heard about it before. Who's the woman who owns the Appalachian Trailer in Hot Springs? She was a previous FKT holder. I cannot remember her name.
I actually
She
do
was
not
hiking.
know, but she came up during trail days, right? Didn't she announce herself?
No, someone who was like representing her hostel was there.
Ah, okay, okay.
Yes, she came and spoke to my middle or high school.
Oh, that's
That was, I
cool.
think, the first time I heard about the Appalachian Trail. And I read A Walk in the Woods when I was like 20. So it had been something that had floated around. I had a really good friend from high school from, the time she spoke to us over the years would be like, one day we should hike this together. Before we're 30, we should hike this. And then one day I'm like, this is like 5 years ago. I'm talking to him on the phone. We start talking about the Appalachian Trail, and I realized he's just been talking about like going out and doing like a week or two on the trail. I've been talking about doing the whole thing. For years, we've
The
been like,
whole time.
we're talking about different things. So it's always been of interest to me, but it was never anything that I was like really the way she talks about like, I want to hike the Appalachian Trail. It's April. Let me get this done. That was never it for me. I never felt the need to do that, to make it happen.
Did you even go out there? Like you say you wanted to hike the whole thing, but did you even go out there saying, I'm just going to do whatever I'm going to do? Or were you aimed for Springer the whole time?
I was aiming for Springer the whole time,
Okay.
but the way this one unfolded for me was just, let's see, I started June 2025. A year before that, I sort of uprooted my whole life and moved to a farm in New Hampshire to do a work exchange. And I was working part-time as a remote teacher, part-time, like working for room and board on this farm. So I sold a lot of my belongings. I was out of a lease. It was a very flexible lifestyle.
I kind of remember that because when I met
Yeah.
it was in Maine and
Yes.
you were heading that way to like reunite with those folks, right?
Yes, there was
Okay.
a party happening on the farm that I was like trying to time and make happen. And I moved out there a year before I started the trail. I thought I was going to be out there for a while. That whole thing kind of fell apart and it didn't end up working out. But it was more the fact that like I took this leap of faith. I did this big radical change in my life. It went as poorly as it could have gone, and I'm still glad I did it.
Yeah.
So that kind of teed me up. I had met some people who'd hiked the AT that got me thinking, like, I guess I could do this. And my teaching position ended mid to late May. So it's going to be too late to hike northbound, which is sort of the default when you're like, am I going to do this? What's the way most people go? So then I'm like, well, I guess I have to do southbound. And that makes sense. I have friends in Maine. I'd lived in Maine before. So yeah, I spent the first half of 2025 saving some money, doing some gear shakedowns. As someone who had the most backpacking experience before the trail, like 3 days, 2 nights, I needed all the prep I could get. So yeah, by day 4 on the 100, that was the longest backpacking trip I'd ever been on.
Yeah. I had actually, I mean, honestly, I had a little bit more backpacking experience than that, but I don't, and not a ton, but still more than that, and more than either of you, it sounds like, on your first through hikes. But it didn't matter. It's still jumping in feet first right away anyway, because it's a completely different animal regardless.
Yeah. You can't really
Yeah.
prepare.
Yeah.
Especially starting with the 100-mile wilderness
Yeah.
of just, hey, here's a really long remote section.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that was totally different than anything I'd done.
Yeah. It's a tough start. We were just talking about that the other day.
Like, why don't more people go Sobo?
Right.
I feel part of the reason is the start is intimidating and tough. Like a 10-day backpacking trip is a lot. And so you're starting your hike that way.
Yeah. Oh, and it's funny because I think most stories of Sobo are that way. Like all three of us, I was thinking Nobo because everybody thinks Nobo, and then this. And not too many, although there were a few I met that were like Sobo all the way the whole time. But like, now that I've done it, now that I even as I neared it, and I was like, man, I'm Sobo. I don't actually know why anybody would go the other way.
Right.
Like, this is awesome. Why would you not start with this epic part, right?
Yeah.
You're not in a race to get to Springer. There's a lot of advantages.
Yeah.
Less rain.
Weather's on your side.
Yeah. I can't even imagine going northbound now. But obviously, a lot of people do it that way. Most people do it that way, and they have great experiences too. So, not throwing any shade or anything, but for me, it'd be southbound all the way. Even if I ever did it again, southbound all the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Well, one of the follow-ups I thought about was Pastor Frank. You mentioned your mom had a connection to the AT. So, does she have significant miles on her? Maybe a through hike?
No, she doesn't. Well, me and her are planning to do the Camino, actually. She just retired.
Okay, cool.
So that's going to be our big through hike that we do together
Next year.
Yeah, next year. That's the plan. We had done some little like through various family trips growing up, little day hikes on the AT. And then my only ever backpacking trip prior to the PCT, me and my mom attempted to do the AT in the Smokies, and it rained the whole time. And the Smokies were like, as we know, one of the hardest sections of the AT, and we both were just not prepared. And so we didn't get very far. So that was
Yeah.
my only backpacking experience before the PCT. But yeah, we've done like family hikes and things on the AT, and yeah.
Cool. Well, whatever my other follow-up was, I forgot what it was. So we'll go back to the script. Yeah, let's go ahead and go into the early days of the Appalachian Trail for each of you. Ultimately, I'm thinking about leading up to like when you guys first met. What was your separate journey before that like? And actually, that would be the segment on which each of you individually met me. Throw that into the story if you want to, if it fits. But more, what was it like? Who did you meet? Who did you hike with? What were your favorite sections? Kind of all that. Whoever kind of wants to go first, or switch off. However it works.
Yeah. So I started June 11th solo, and no one was really hiking with me. Like there was no one summiting the same day I did. I met Gator and Croc in the 100. I met Ratatouille in the 100. So we hiked together for a couple days. Then I get to Shaw's actually the day right after that big rainstorm. You were already there.
Yeah.
I met you and Kiddo and a bunch of northbound hikers. That was a really cool experience. I just remember getting to Shaw's and I forgot who it was. Someone gave me the tour, the classic hostel tour. Here's where you do this. But for me, this is my first time getting the tour. And I remember she just like tells me where everything is. And then I'm just kind of standing there. And she's like, shower first. Then laundry. And I was like, got it. Like it was just kind of all overwhelming. I just spent 11 days in the woods, like
right, exactly.
What am I doing here?
You're like, it's really nice while these buildings are, but what do I do now, right?
Yeah. So that was a really great experience. Being at Shaw's there for that solstice party they had. That was fun. Yeah, I had read Appalachian Trials before hiking. And I remember him talking about, obviously, if you're leaving with someone, that's different. But if you're going alone, you need to be content with being alone. Yes, maybe you really want to meet people. Maybe you really want a tramley, but ultimately you have to be okay with like, this is something I'm willing to do alone, regardless of how much I want to meet other people. And so I was really happy just kind of floating in and out with different people. I saw you a couple times, once or twice later on, hiked with Spicy and Ribbit and Fuego, saw them on and off, but never was really consistently with anyone. Maine was beautiful. I'd lived in Maine before. I had actually never done the Bigelows or the Saddlebacks, having lived in Maine, and those were just incredible parts.
Yeah.
The trail. And then going from the Hostel of Maine to Bethel, Maine. So I think it was like 80 miles, maybe I was 75 miles. I was going to do it over 6 days, carry my food all the way. And it was going to go into the 4th of July weekend. And I have a friend who lives in Bethel, Maine. I was going to hang out with him on the 4th of July. And then what's the mountain right before you get? Baldpate. On Baldpate, I got caught in a storm on the summit and my phone got totally soaked.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know yet. You just have to put it in a plastic bag. I had it in my rain jacket pocket and I'm like, oh, it's a rain jacket. This will keep it good. It's not. So
you learn, right?
I learned the expensive hard way. So lucky enough, I had a pre-planned meeting time and point with him. So even though my phone broke, I met him. We spent 4th of July together. And then me taking 2 zeros on the 4th of July is what allowed us to meet up for the first time.
Okay.
I had met Daddy Longlegs at Hostel of Maine. And then after Hostel of Maine, she met Daddy Longlegs. And so we the three of us all met up together for the first time at Full Goose Shelter, which for Sobos is right after the Mahoosic Notch. And I was phoneless, navigating with a physical map of the section, which actually there was like 5 miles of new trail that they hadn't put any white blazes on, and I got
Yeah.
separated with them one day, and I'm holding my map. I'm like, I don't even know if I'm on the AT.
I know. I said to Dave, I'm like, is he gonna get lost? He
They
doesn't
were ahead
have
of me.
any way to know that there's an update. Like,
Yeah.
Here, I want to give you a little bit of props here because, okay, you didn't know to put your phone in the Ziploc. Fine,
Yeah.
fair, right? You had the prearranged meetup point, and you had a physical map. Like I would have had neither of those. I would have been just like asking somebody else for help or something.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess given it's a podcast, there is a story in the prearranged meetup point. So I'm sitting when you get to Bald Pate as a Sobo, there's this brutal climb, and then it kind of seems like you summit. And I get there, it's beautiful, and I call my brother, but I'm facing away from where the impending storm is coming from. And I talked to him for like 40 minutes, and then I look and I see this guy like running. This guy who's probably nearly 60 running with his two dogs. And then I look back and I see huge storm clouds coming in.
Wow.
I make the poor decision to keep going instead of turning back. And I get soaked. But in the middle of the storm, I find 3 rocks where I'm able to crawl into this little cave. And my phone hasn't broken yet. I call my friend in the middle of the storm and I tell him what's going on. And so that's when we prearranged the meetup
Smart.
point.
All right.
My phone
Still
broke
smart.
again.
Yeah.
So I had quite an adventure. And I guess the last piece of that is I was starting to experience tendonitis, interior tibial tendonitis in the front on my left leg.
Which
And
is
so-
why I saw you in New Hampshire.
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw you once again because I was moving decently well. And then I ended up, after we met up, having to take 10 days off and stay with my friend again because I needed to let my foot heal, and I let it heal. I got new shoes and never had any problems again. So
Nice.
yes, that was sort of Maine and the very start of New Hampshire for me.
All right, we're going to take a quick break to hear from the sponsors who help keep Muse's AT podcast on the trail. These are offerings that truly enhanced my thru hike experience, so I'd really like you to check them out. Please look for and follow the links in the show notes to this episode. Looking forward to that lazy day on the couch, knocking down your Netflix queue and wondering what to wear? Quick answer, wear something else. Summit Ready Apparel is clothing built for those who scramble over jagged rocks, reach the peaks, and actually enjoy getting caught in a torrential downpour. If you're someone who doesn't mind the elements and has the grit to crush the next segment anyway, look no further than Summit Ready to match your restless trail spirit. Check out the catalog at summitreadyapparel.com and get ready for your next adventure. That's summitreadyapparel.com. Looking for your next great trail read? Walk Uphill is a powerful story about leaving the emptiness of modern corporate life behind and finding a completely new beginning on the Appalachian Trail. It's about discovering what life can look like when you embrace freedom, lighten your load, and take it step by relentless step. I actually read this book myself during a couple rest days in Gorham, New Hampshire, right after conquering the brutal terrain of southern Maine. I literally couldn't put it down. I read it from cover to cover in 2 days. The book chronicles the real-life events of the author, Bounce the Hiker, in a twisty, shocking, edge-of-your-seat story that even the most imaginative fiction writer couldn't make up. Just a quick content warning, there is definitely adult material in this book, so I wouldn't recommend buying it for your 10-year-old's birthday. But if you're looking for a gripping, raw trail adventure, I highly recommend Walk Uphill by Bounce the Hiker. You can find it easily on Amazon by searching Walk Uphill Book, or just click the direct link in the show notes of this episode. Pastor Frank, how about you? Early part of the trail, sort of solo. What was that like for you?
Yeah, I started the trail solo. And again, this having been my second through hike, I went into it just from my experience with my first through hike, knowing you're going to probably meet people. Like, you're not going to be totally alone. There will be
You start
people.
solo, but you don't end solo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I started solo. I started June 15th. I summited Katahdin with 4 other Sobos. So it was a busy day on
Okay.
Katahdin that day, and hiked the 100 with the 100 and then some with First Class. I don't know if you met First
Okay.
Class.
Never
Started as
did.
like
I think he
farm,
was like
and then-
always, well, he obviously started later than me, so he wasn't always ahead of me, but he was pretty much always ahead of me. I don't think I ever met him.
Yeah, so I did the 100 and then some with First Class and then a fella named Bounce. Then, so my first month, I went into the trail knowing I was kind of going to be moving fast because I had a flight home out of Boston mid-July because I had plans to come home. It was my 30th birthday. I had to attend a bachelorette party, and then I was going to do a quick 2-week Boundary Waters trip in the middle that I had already had
Yeah.
flights booked for when I decided to do the AT. And so I decided I'm still going to do that, just take a little like side quest and come back.
Which you ended up doing a few times, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And the two of you did some of those together even. Yeah, yeah. Well, we can get into that later. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, I did a lot of side quests on the AT. But I went into at least my first month knowing I'm going to be coming home. So pretty much anyone I wind up hiking with, I'm going to lose them anyway. And so I was very much like, I know I'm not going to probably stick with anybody I meet in this first stretch. And I was on a pretty tight crunch. So I was moving pretty quick. I was doing pretty big miles the first month just to be able to get to my flight in Boston.
Yeah, that goes into the second time I saw you because, like, yeah, you left Hostel of Maine ahead of me. You
Yeah.
were on a mission. It was clear, right? And I'm like,
I was on a
I'm
mission.
never going to see her again. And then you
Yeah.
come up behind me in Vermont, and I'm just like, how were you behind me? And that,
But I took
obviously,
you
we just
back.
got that story now.
Yeah. So I took, 1-0 my first month at Shaw's. And then after that, I knew I just had to kind of just be consistent and keep going. And so in that pushing, a few days before the 4th of July, while I'm still on my time crunch, is when I meet Daddy Longlegs. And me and Daddy Longlegs immediately we vibed and we're just like, we like each other. We like hiking with each other. She was like pushing fast. And Daddy Longlegs had previously met Frogger. And so when me and Daddy Longlegs roll up to Full Goose Shelter, she's like, Frogger, like they had already met. And so then we all came together and hiked, was it a day or two?
Yeah.
Into Gorham. And so I, at this point, had only a few days left to get to my like checkpoint. So I was like, I got to keep going.
Yeah.
Frogger was getting off for an injury, which is kind of really the only reason we ever were able to reconnect is because a couple days later, I was taking 2 weeks off and he was taking 2 weeks off for his injury. And I remember in Gorham, he like said to me, like, we exchanged numbers. He's like, you might be the one person I ever have a chance of seeing again because I'm getting off trail and you're going to be off trail. So let's, just stay in touch, stay linked up. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah. Other than Daddy Longlegs, anyone I kind of met around that southern Maine, New Hampshire time, I didn't see again.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, I went home, did the Boundary Waters and the bachelorette party and my birthday, and then got back on trail and was moving to try to see if I could catch anyone I had seen.
Yeah. Cool. So then when did you guys start consistently hiking together then? Because you met, but then you both kind of you went separate ways from each other. You both went separate ways from the trail for a little while. Both came back on, but you would have been solo again, right? So when does that become where you actually at least see each other regularly?
I got back on. My goal was to get as much of the whites done before taking 2 weeks off, so I wouldn't have to come back after 2 weeks of not hiking and do a lot of the whites.
That's smart.
So, I got everything done except
The Kinsmen.
the Kinsmans and Musalaki. And so that was my first day back. I did those and it kicked my butt. And then I roll up to a lake and there's 10 other new Sobos I had never seen before who had all like moved in the time that I was away. And so I roll up to this lake on my first night back and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the Sobo bubble. Like, where did you all come from?
Is this that July group? Like,
Yes. Yeah. So
okay.
after I met Big Pimpin' and then like Knobstone, Crooked Letter was there, Rabid Walnut,
El Presidente.
El Presidente. And so that's when me and Big Pimpin' started hiking together.
And you basically hiked
I
rest of the
hiked
trail
the rest of the trail with Big
with Big
Pimpin'.
Pimpin'.
Yeah. Nice.
Shortly after that is when we're going into Rutland, where the Yellow Deli is. And so I knew I was going to at least spend the night in Rutland and shower and do laundry. And that's when I saw you heading into
I was
Rutland.
hiking with Shotgun at that
You were
point.
hiking Shotgun.
Yeah.
And so I had met Shotgun at Hostel of Maine and only briefly. But Shotgun was another one of those people who will immediately meet and are like, I like this guy. And so I'd had like
Yeah,
a couple
probably
times.
the most popular Sobo, period.
Yes.
Like, honestly, you talk to anybody and like, where's Shotgun? I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's awesome, but everybody asks me about him.
Yeah. And so I knew Shotgun was heading into Rutland, and I'm like, oh, it'd be great to spend some time with a little more time with Shotgun. And then just from us having exchanged numbers, we had been kind of tracking. Frogger's like, let me know when you get to Vermont and when you're back. And so the day I'm getting to Yellow Deli in Rutland, you were zeroing there.
Yeah.
Frogger was zeroing there. And so we were able to reconnect again since getting off trail. We had like a nice Italian dinner with us two and Shotgun, which is one of my favorite dinners that
And
I
the most
had.
expensive dinners I had.
It was very expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to
that's
spend some
early
money
in the-
sometimes, right?
That's an
Yeah.
early in the trail decision. Where
Yeah.
like when you're 1,500 miles in, you're like, I'm not spending that kind of money. But when you're at the beginning, you're like,
Like,
course.
I have money to
Yeah.
no.
come on here. And then we were kind of because we met there in Rutland, but actually at different points, entry points. We were like 20 miles apart when we were in Rutland.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he came in the first way, I came in the second way. And so then we were actually kind of just on and off again through most of Vermont and Massachusetts.
Yeah, still just doing our own thing.
Yeah. And then it wasn't until literally the first campsite in Connecticut, right when you cross the Massachusetts border, that we first camped together again.
Yeah.
It was me, Pastor Frank, Big Pimpin'. Two Meals was there, but he didn't stay with us. And then the three of us, me, Pastor Frank, and Big Pimpin', hiked the rest of the trail together from all of Connecticut down to Springer.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And Daddy Longlegs would have been somewhere in the area, but just not with you guys at that point?
Yeah, Daddy Longlegs was ahead. And Daddy Longlegs was intentionally kind of taking it slow and taking some zeros so that me and her could probably hike together again.
Yeah.
And so
She'd like 000, and we'd be like, oh, we're catching up to her, and then do 225s.
I'm like, you can't keep doing this. The math is not working.
Yeah.
So I was trying to catch up. And so then eventually at Harper's Ferry is when I was finally able to catch up to Daddy Longlegs.
Because she took 6 zeros.
Yes.
6 zeros, yeah.
2 of them with us. She was meeting her family there. She went, her family's nearby. So she stayed with them, I think, or saw some friends. So like,
cool. She had plans there. Yeah.
She had plans, and we were able to meet up, and her mom cooked for us, cooked pupusas for us. It was incredible.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And in that stretch between Connecticut, when it was me, Frogger, and Big Pimpin', and Harper's Ferry, was when we picked up Nature Boy, who was a flip-flopper. We met him in Port Clinton, Pennsylvania.
In the bar.
At the bar.
The bar in Port Clinton. I don't know the story behind it, but I heard that at trail days.
Yes.
Great deal, great food.
So Pastor Frank goes to the bathroom. It's just me and Big Pimpin', and Nature Boy, who we haven't met yet, is across the bar. No, I'm sorry. Big Pimpin' goes to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And he goes, is that Curly? And I was like, what? He goes, is that Curly? And
I
go,
heard she had a rename. Yeah.
Yes, she had a previous trail name. So there was it could have been a moment of miscommunication.
Yeah.
Where that's it. We never talked to him anymore, but resolving like, oh, she changed her trail name, which I didn't know. Then we get to talking, then we hike out with this guy, and then Nature Boy finishes the entire trail with us.
Yeah.
So it was a funny moment of meeting him in Port
Yeah.
Clinton.
So really, that was great because you've now assembled pretty much the whole crew. I mean, those are the 6 of you guys who finished together, right?
5.
I just can't count.
Yeah, we would pick up,
occasional sectioners. Like Eddie Machete did all of Virginia and hiked most of the whole thing with our group. So we would have like a 6th additional member that would join in. Bear Pop, we picked Bear Pop up in the Smokies, and she finished with us.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool. If you want to the degree that you want to, you're just hiking together for a while. You got numbers just so you wouldn't so you'd have somebody that you knew, that sort of thing. When does that start turning romantic? How does that sort of progress for either of you or both of you or however you want to take that one?
Yeah.
I'll
start by saying I feel like the first month of us hiking together, it was just like very platonic because like I'm not out there you don't go out there to like meet someone hiking the trail, like
not the best conditions for that, right?
Yeah, you're just kind of hiking your own hiking trail. You're starting solo, you're gonna, and so there wasn't this like, oh, I mean, I thought he was cute, but I wasn't like trying to find a boyfriend on the Appalachian Trail. Like, so the first month was, I would say, us just like hiking together as friends with Big Pimpin'. just really getting to know each other. And I think one of the reasons that I don't want to say worked, but that first month is like we were just like totally ourselves. Like you're not pretending to be anyone you're not trying to impress anyone. Like if you go on a date, you're like trying to be your best self and like
It's like a courtship.
Yeah.
That
where
exists.
It's kind of a fun thing about the trail in general, right? I feel like everybody's just kind of being completely themselves. Yeah.
you're just totally stripped down. It's who you are. Yeah. And so just in like the hours and hours of us just like talking and hiking, we just like were very much sharing everything and anything about ourselves, like without regard for if another person like likes it or not. This is who I am. This is what I think about this. What do you think about about everything?
And we're doing the same with Big Pimpin'.
Yeah.
So it's like like you said, on the trail, you meet someone and you might very quickly get into like very personal, intimate experiences, fears you have, and then you may not see them again. And that's just the nature of what it's like out there. So yeah, we did that.
For the first month of us, I feel like hiking together was just like friends hiking along, getting to know each other. And then for me, at least, like it was through that, just getting to know Roger as just who he is. There's definitely a crush that formed. But then Harper's Ferry was where I think we both realized that. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, and like we hiked, so the three of us hiked the whole trail from Connecticut on, but there were little moments of dipping off. Like we all went into New York City, but I was staying with my friend, so I stayed a little longer. She went into Washington, D.C., so it's like
other side quests.
All these little side quests. And
that's right, New York City, because you saw Utag and Ratatouille there, right?
We didn't see them there. We were just there at the same time. They were, for some reason, hiking.
I was there too.
Were you really?
Maybe a day later. Okay. I think you left the day I came in or something like that.
They kept hiking in New York City. They were putting in 17 plus miles on concrete every day for some reason.
Yeah, they forgot what a zero was for, right?
Yeah. But yeah, it had been about a month of us hiking together. And then finally we're departing Harper's Ferry with this group. Daddy Longlegs is new now with like this group we've assembled. And it took her a couple days to catch back up to us.
And I got to DC.
I think in those days was where I realized, like, I like all these people I'm hiking with, but she's the one I really like hiking with, and I like her to way. And so she caught back up, and then I sort of had this. I start to realize, like, okay, I'm definitely into her, and but then there's also an awareness of like, yeah, I also didn't come out here to meet someone, and as a man hiking the trail, you have to have awareness around how just any women are going to feel around you. Like there's a level of, I have to show that I'm not some weird creep. I'm like, I respect you. And so I had to come to terms with the idea that here we have this group of 5 now. If I say, hey, Pastor Frank, I'm actually really into you, and she doesn't reciprocate, I have to then go back to this idea that I'm okay hiking alone. Like, I'll just be like, great, Tony.
Yeah.
And I just destroyed the group dynamic, and I will be leaving now.
I didn't even think about that part of it, but yeah, I mean, that would have been a real risk to the group dynamic. That group doesn't hike together anymore at that point.
Yeah. And I have to leave. I had to kind of come to terms with that.
You so had a couple days, you said, like, anxiety.
120 miles of hiking and being like, okay, I just need to do it. And so, yes, it was at Devil's Backbone Brewery at Sobopalooza, put on by Trail Angel Truck Stop.
Shout out Truck Stop.
We were playing Connect 4 on the giant lawn Connect 4.
Yeah.
And I told her I was going to play some mind games on her, and I told her I was into her.
So that happened at Devil's Backbone. For the audience, you guys met Truck Stop and this whole group, and we talked a little bit about Neropalooza. So that's kind of fun in Devil's Backbone. Yeah. So that was then. Yeah. That's awesome.
He said, hey, I have a crush on you. And I was like, same.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it kind of goes really quickly in a way because, again, we already know each other really well.
Yeah.
There's no like getting to know each other. It's like, okay, so what now?
So, hey, you like me? Okay, let's just keep hiking.
Yeah.
In some ways, you kind of put it in the right order. Right? Like,
yeah.
And it does, I would imagine, we live in such a dating app world now. I would imagine that's how people used to get to know each other, is first as friends or someone you know in your community or some family friend or something, and only later does it turn romantic. I've never
Yeah.
had anything like that before, obviously.
All right, let's talk about those side quests because it's, like you said, Pastor Frank, a number of side quests, a few of them early on, your own side quests. They later end up, I remember following some of this on Instagram, that you guys then took a couple side quests together.
Yeah.
Like, so let's kind of go through just, for entertainment's sake, like what were the side quests? Because this will be fun.
Yeah. Well, the early big one was coming home, flying back to Detroit from Boston I was celebrating my 30th birthday with like family and friends, and then my best friend's bachelorette party, whose wedding I was in on November 1st, which then leads to another side quest on the line, but I came home for that. And then I had a Boundary Waters trip, like a canoe trip planned with a group of friends. So I flew from Detroit to the Twin Cities, drove up, did the Boundary Waters trip for 2 weeks, flew home, and the next day got my flight back to trail. It was chaotic, but it was very, very fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then the side quests coming home for the wedding for November 1st. Like, again, I went into the trail knowing my initial goal was to be done before the wedding. And then quickly on, I realized that was not a realistic goal.
And a running joke, again, from when we met was data versus vibes.
Yeah.
It's a thing we'd always talk about of like, are you making a data decision or a vibe decision? And I'm a little more of a data guy and she's a little more of a vibes gal.
Okay.
And so at some point, I don't know when, you were talking about,
Yeah.
I'd like to be done before this wedding. And I just do some quick math and I'm like, you realize you have to average 24 miles a day for the next 2 months, including zeros, to get that
And I was
done.
like, oh, I hadn't done the math. I'm not doing that.
I don't think you should aim for that.
But yeah, so I knew that I would be needing to come home back to Detroit around the end of October for this wedding. And so beginning of October, early October is when I'm starting to like put a plan together of how I'm going to do that. I figured I'd rent a car because that would be more flexible and cheaper than flying.
And beginning of October is also when I'm like, hey, I'm kind of into you.
Yeah.
So those start at the same
okay.
time.
End of October is approaching. I'm starting to make plans and like think about logistically how it's going to work. Where do I need to be in order to rent this car? We had some just conversations in all of our hiking about how a lot of times you'll have an idea of something you want to do. Maybe it's like in dating of like, I would like to present this to this person, or I would like to do this, but I don't want to come across as moving too quickly, or that's too crazy an idea. And so we just had a lot of conversations about like, what if people just like kind of said their piece and like said what they wanted and weren't afraid of how it would be received? There was a word for it that neither of us can remember now.
Yeah. Proposition. Maybe.
Yeah.
I have a proposition, which is like maybe this is too wild, but
just say it anyway, because maybe you're thinking the same thing, but we're both afraid of what the other person would think. And so he was just like, hey, one day we're hiking. He's like, this is crazy, but what if I am your +1 and I drive back to Detroit with you? And I'm like, I was kind of secretly thinking the same thing. Like, that'd be great. And so I just texted my friend whose wedding I was in, and explained the wild situation. And she gave me a +1.
You're like,
so
can you believe all this? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then had to ask her parents too.
Yeah, I called my mom and I was like, I met this man in the woods and he's going to come home with me for this wedding, and can he stay in the guest room? And so we got off at Johnson City, rented a car, drove to Detroit, celebrated Halloween, went to the wedding, and then drove back and got back on trail.
And then finished. I mean, that was close to the end right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is kind of why we were pushing it that last month, is because of just taking the time off. We knew part of it too is in the time that we had gone home for the wedding, our little trail family had kept slowly moving, but we wanted to catch them and finish with them. So we knew that when we got back from Detroit in early November that we were going to be pushing to catch them.
We did 25 miles a day for 6 straight days to get hot springs just to catch them.
Yeah.
You feel that.
And we
that last day was right when that first snowstorm hit.
Yeah.
So it was nice little snow, and then it snowed overnight. And
cool. It's interesting to hear you guys talking about the data versus vibe and everything. Cause like,
which one are you?
You're
immediately.
Data.
Data 100%. Well, actually, I think I evolved a little bit. Okay. Data when I'm by myself. Vibe when I'm with a group.
I like that. I can relate to that.
But the thing that it made me think about with you guys is like, so Frogger is basically the same the whole trail. That was good old Frogger. Like the same guy I met in Maine was the same guy I met at Devil's Backbone. And that was great. Pastor Frank, 180-degree difference. Like when I met you, Hostel of Maine, you were driven. Like you were like there was no way you were zeroing. Like that wasn't going to happen, right? And you were like, I would have actually just data versus vibe put you in the data category. Like you knew where you needed to go. And
I can be data when I need to and I have to be.
Devil's Backbone, you were so chill. I'm like, she's changed.
I can do data or vibes. It's just based on what is needed of me at that time.
And we asked this is something we talked to my family, her family about, friends, anyone we'd meet, data versus vibes, we'd kind of put this idea out there of sort of what are you? I think my sister gave the best answer to this question, which is she said, I'm capable of data, but I vibe as much as I possibly can. Like everything is vibes until I go, actually, I need to actually think about this one. I need to actually plan.
Yeah.
Which I think is you can live however you want, but that's probably the best way to live, which was where I relate to by default. I am an over planner. I tend to be like, actually, let me plan this, even though maybe I could just improvise, vibe my way through it. And that's where you say your vibes of like more, if you're going to err on one side, it's because you're going to vibe something maybe you should have planned. Whereas I'm going to plan something maybe I should have vibed.
Yeah.
And that has been nice and complimentary.
Did you have a spreadsheet by chance?
I did not have a spreadsheet.
Okay, all right.
No, I did not have a spreadsheet.
you weren't a total Muse level, so that's good. The audience doesn't know about the spreadsheet yet because it really didn't come into play until Gorham. But there was anyway. We'll get there when we get there. So what about highlights? Highlights of the whole trail, especially we talked about the early days already. Take us from basically Harper's Ferry onward. What were the most fun parts, either to you individually, to yourselves as a couple, or like as part of this bigger group?
A big one is Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of the Nobos have a bad experience there because they're hitting it in summer. It's hot. And it's for them, one of the first more challenging sections. Of course, the Smokies are challenging, and there's some big mountains in Tennessee, North Carolina. But the Virginia Blues, Virginia Never Ends. So I didn't have any sort of expectations. The whites are beautiful. Maine's beautiful. There's almost, you could have a negative sentiment of like the good part of the trail's behind me when you're leaving Harper's Ferry. Virginia was incredible. It felt like the forecast every day was, it's going to rain soon. And then it just never rained for us. So we kept having a lot of luck with that. We ate really well. I think I gained 5 pounds in Virginia. I weighed myself at Harper's Ferry.
I think I did too. Yeah, if not 10.
Yeah. And so a lot of good hostels, Four Pines.
Yeah, I think the hostels were definitely a highlight.
We had some great hostels.
Yeah.
And it was sort of like, here's our new group and we're all together and it seems like we're going to keep going together and we're having a good time. And she and I were newer in terms of like, there's this excitement around, there's a new element in the trail that's not just 5 friends hiking together.
Yeah.
It's like us hiking together is another component of that. So Virginia, and the mountain,
just the whole state.
The whole state.
Shenandoah.
100%. I'm with you. I'm with you on that. And it's funny because that's my experience too. And pretty much every Sobo I've talked to, it's the same thing. So I'm wondering if Virginia Blues is kind of a Nobo thing. Maybe we're immune. I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of had the New York Blues. I don't know about you guys. I didn't love New York.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I could see
Sorry, New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a good time in New York.
Okay, good. I did off and on. All right, so actually, Daddy Longlegs mentioned it, but I'm kind of going from memory because I haven't reviewed that episode yet. CDT is 2030. Is that right? And Frogger, you're like road support?
Well, okay. I never going into the AT. Again, I did the PCT. The first thing, before I think I even started the AT, everyone's asking like, so you're going to triple crown? No, you're going to do CDT? And I was like, I don't know. Like, let me do this first. Like, I don't think so. Like,
it's kind of a big pressure for it, right? Like now you got, it's weird.
At the top of my list. But then as we're going, I think it just naturally was like, why not? The idea of triple crowning and doing the CDT has grown in my mind. And so then, we meet Daddy Longlegs, who's just living the hike.
Who has also hiked the PCT.
And so Daddy Longlegs has been throwing this idea out there, and 2030 would work for my timeline. I do want to do it. And
So it's Daddy Longlegs that decided that Frogger was road support, though. Like,
well, no,
It was more just like, okay,
you weren't sold.
on the AT, I wasn't feeling like I didn't finish going like I never want to do that again, but I didn't feel this like, oh, I can't wait to do this again. And I guess I felt if I wanted to hike the CDT with them, I would like it to also be my Triple Crown. Like to finish in such a monumental thing
I get
and
that.
then have another one hanging to then be in the same position of like, well,
Yeah.
I kind of should do the PCT. So there was almost a sense in which I would need to do the PCT before that. And I'm thinking, again, data, I'm probably overthinking all of this. Maybe none of this matters, but like, when am I going to do that? How am I going to pull off 2 through hikes in the next
How you
year?
gonna squeeze that one in
I
by
don't-
2030? Right? Yeah, yeah.
And so then, we've talked about van life. That's what we'd like to do. So me being road support for a CDT through hike just kind of seems like if I end up not hiking it, that would just be a natural thing to do of like enjoy van life, enjoy supporting on the road. Like she had a friend when you hiked the PCT who did road support, right?
Yeah.
It was
Came in clutch all the time.
Yeah. I feel like that's kind of a maybe, and maybe I don't have a very big population of data or whatever, but like, I feel like that's a bigger thing on the other 2 long trails, on the PCT and the CDT. Like, you don't really need it on the AT so much because there's such a support network already.
Exactly. Yeah, and you're hitting a town so frequently, you don't really need
Yeah.
it. Whereas the other trails, you're definitely out there for longer stretches without a town. Or there is a town, but it's a 30-mile hitch to get to. So, yeah.
That makes sense.
So we'll see. Maybe CDT 2030.
Yeah.
Don't tell my boss that.
And maybe PCT 2029 for me.
Muse here. Just a quick note to ask you for a favor. If you are enjoying what you're hearing, please tell a friend. I'd love to get this story out to as many people as possible. Hopefully it finds just the right set of ears and inspires someone to get out and hit the trail. Of course, if you do see something that could be improved, please let me know. Thank you for walking with me, and happy trails.
Hey everyone, this is the part of the episode between the entry and the commentary where as the podcast develops, I'll drop in an ad or two to get the bills paid. Nothing too intrusive, hopefully, and maybe if we're lucky, we'll pick up some trail-related sponsors. At this point though, I thought I'd write an ad of my own and read it out. What I'm selling today is simply a plea to get in touch with me. I'll say it in the body of some of the episodes, but probably sometimes I won't. But I really do want to connect. Not only would I love feedback, truly, and am itching to field a question or two, but I also would love to hear your trail stories. This podcast is my way, post-trail, of connecting back with the AT community. Whether you're reliving past glory like I am on this show, prepping for an upcoming hike, or maybe you're on the trail here in 2026, or maybe you're just someone who likes hiking content or in particular the Appalachian Trail, whatever brings you here, I'd love to get to know you. So reach out on Instagram by following Muse Hikes, or email me at museatpodcast@gmail.com. Or another cool way to get in touch, and I'll start getting back to checking this regularly, is to drop a note in my trail journal if you click through to that. The trail journal has pictures with each journal entry, and sometimes I'll refer directly to the picture in the entry as I read it out, so you might want to see that. And I'll also share some photos on that Instagram account as well. There are links to the Instagram profile, the email, and the trail journal in the show notes to each episode. Whichever way you decide to reach out, I'm looking forward to hearing from you. And now, back to the show. All right, on to the standard questions. So first, actually, I'm going to ask Frogger first because I want to ask something specific here. How did each of you get your trail names? And did Spicy name you?
No, Spicy.
Okay, I don't know why I got that idea.
Well, because Spicy has another frog-related
Okay.
in her life.
Well, fair enough. Yeah.
So my last night where I camped in the 100-mile wilderness, a huge storm hit, and people who were behind me in the 100 got stuck in the 100 because there were some impassable rivers.
Oh, you barely dodged
I barely
that.
made it. So I slept alone in the shelter. It was insane. It was one of those metal roof shelters. It was so loud all night.
Was that one that's like 3 miles from Monson?
Yes.
Okay.
And right after that, there's a tiny little stream. But after the storm, it was ripping. And I sat there for 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes just debating, like, should I even do this? Because it wasn't very wide, but it was moving really fast. And it seemed like it was going to be way too hard to ford, but there was a tree sloped downwardly for me to shimmy across. So I like got up on there just to see if I could hold myself with my pack on. It worked fine. And I shimmied down a log across to the other side of this little brook and then met a couple of guys, a couple of sectioners or nobos, like 15 minutes later, described to them the situation, said, hey, it might be actually tough to pass the other way because you're shimmying up. And one of them was like, do you have a trail name yet? And I was like, no. He's like, you should be Frogger, crossing water sources with logs.
You're hopping from one thing to the other. And
Yes. So most of the time when people meet me, trail name Frogger, they're like, oh, or is it a road crossing thing? And I'm like, no, it's the using logs to cross rivers. So I laughed about it. And then, I was like, yep, that's a great trail name. I like
within
that.
the next 3 miles, you decided that was your trail name.
Yes. I got to Shaw's and they're like, what's your trail name? And I was like, here we go. I get to use it. So I was Frogger the rest of the way.
I remember Hippie Chick asking the question because, a lot of the people are relatively young. Who's even old enough to know what you're talking about, right? And I remember I was in the corner thinking, I am, but I didn't even say anything.
Well, and it's funny, 'cause I didn't realize how old the game was. Someone older asked, what's your trail name, Frogger? There would be times where I'd start to explain what Frogger was, and I was finding, people older than me who they know what Frogger is. It's sometimes the younger people, the people in their early 20s who didn't.
You were right on the border.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I played it on my neighbor's PC.
Nice. Pastor Frank, how'd you get your trail name?
I got my trail name on the PCT. The first month of the PCT, I had very bad blisters. I was still figuring out the whole shoe sock combo thing. I started in boots that were way too small. And so with the sand and the heat and everything, I just had horrible blisters. And so people I was hiking with had joked around about calling me Frankentoes or Frankenfoot. And they're like,
Okay.
Frank for short, it'll be really cute. And I was not sold on that. But then a little while later, we were all just sitting around camp, hanging out, talking about just ourselves and our past lives. And it came up that I had been a youth pastor in my early 20s. And so one of the guys shouted, "You're Pastor Frank." And then everyone thought that was hilarious. And so I thought it was funny too. So I decided to stick with it.
Nice.
Pastor Frank.
And I have heard that story
a million times.
So many times, because if you meet the two of us, and you give trail names, I'm sure you experience this, Muse. Frogger and Muse, they sort of, I get it. That's a name you'd get on a trail for some reason. So sometimes people don't ask.
I can see
everyone whose trail name is Pastor Frank, you could hear 5 other names. They go, how'd you get that name? So, yes.
Towards the end of the trail, he was telling my trail name story for me.
I think I can.
Yeah, nice.
I
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well,
my formal name is Reverend Francis.
Yeah.
Okay. Formal name. Well, the funny thing about it too is it's another one of those that crosses genders too. And my wife is so confused because I'll talk like these names. She's she has no idea who's a guy, who's a girl, because half the time it just doesn't sound like it ought to. Right?
Yeah. Someone behind me would finally meet me and they'd be like, "You're Pastor Frank? Like, we thought you were some old man." I'm like, "No."
Right. And I'm hiking with 3 women named Pastor Frank, Daddy Longlegs, and Big Pimpin'. And I have the most feminine name of Frogger.
Yeah.
So it's...
if I joined those 3, I'd have the most feminine name too. So
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, the big one. I'm really enjoying this question. It's kind of a 2-parter. So first, and we already talked about the events that led you to the trail. This one's slightly different, and maybe it touches on some of your same answers, but why the trail? What was the big why that drove you onto the Appalachian Trail and to know you were going to be hiking the whole thing?
Yeah. Again, I read Appalachian Trials. Now, at that point, I'd already decided to hike the
Which,
trail.
shout out to Appalachian Trials. I did too. I don't know if you already heard that, but 3 or 4 times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You read it
Yeah.
multiple times in your preparation. So that helps you at least flesh out some of the why. And I think one of the bigger whys of hiking this trail was sort of what a journey like this represents, in that there's so much in life is a means to an end. it's hard to maybe get your motivations down of why you want to do something because there's financial incentive, social incentive, things your family may want. Your reasons for doing something are all mixed in with other exterior forces on your life. Hiking this trail has no value. I am losing money doing it. It it's it is on my resume, but it's not for my resume.
It's
It's
funny. I never even thought about that, but everything you're saying is absolutely true. So sorry, go on. I shouldn't have interrupted. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so it's something where I'm doing it just to do it. And
For you.
it's
Yeah.
just for me. It's not something that I'm doing for anybody else. And so
On the real resume, the one that should matter, right?
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing this for me but also it is about the journey, not the destination. So I'm doing this thing that is every day I'm doing this thing. There's nothing I need to get to Springer for. And so I get to wake up every day and continue to make the decision that I'm doing this thing for me. So there was that component. And then for me, there was a physical component. I'd had chronic back pain for the past 5 or 6 years. I'd been to surgeons and chiropractors and physical therapists. All of them are like, you're too young to be experiencing this. And there was
I never would have guessed that, man. Like, to me, the second I met you, and like, well, all of the multiple times I met you, it's like, this guy's definitely. I mean, there was no question as to whether you were going to do it, and you seemed to, like, every second of it seemed like you were having a blast. And I'm like, to hear that you previously struggled with chronic back pain, I'm like, how can that even be? It doesn't even compute for me.
Well,
But anyway, sorry, go on.
But yeah, that was the relief of it wasn't giving me issues. So there was a lot of my pre-trail healing from back pain had to do with, they talk about Dr. John, if anyone else is listening who has chronic back pain, Dr. John Sarvo wrote several books. He was an early guy in this movement. Mind Over Back Pain is the one I read. He talks a lot about the fear pain cycle. You experience
I've
pain,
heard about
you
this.
fear
Yeah.
the pain, so then you tense up and you find yourself in a cycle. And so there's a lot of that work, which honestly ends up kind of being like journaling, and accepting the pain is kind of the path through it. So this was just like a physical testament to this pain. I'm in control of it. Like, this is not something that's going to stop me from doing the things that I want to, because previously in my life it had sort of slowly shrunk my life to where I wasn't going outside, I wasn't playing sports, I wasn't being as active as I used to because of my back. And so this was just sort of flipping that script of like, I can carry 30 pounds on my back and walk to Georgia. And that's a success in my book.
Yeah. If you can do that, you've beaten the back pain.
Yes.
Yeah. Pastor Frank, your why.
My why. I think my why, and it goes back to my why of deciding to do the Pacific Crest Trail in the first place, and then which also led to the AT, is just this desire to live a life that I find exciting, and knowing that I don't want to get to the end of my life and like look back at this long list of things I could have done, or look at all these other people doing really cool things. Like, I want to be the person doing cool things. And so it's out of just a desire of like, I would regret not having tried it or done it. And there's a quote that I think back a lot to. I don't know who said it, but it's something along the lines of like, don't live the same life 80 years in a row and then call it a life. Of like,
Yeah.
I'm just very much someone who's like, I don't want to subscribe to like, you graduate, you get a job, you work that job, you get married, you have kids, you buy a house, and that's it. Like, I just don't, that's not exciting to me. Like, I want a life that's full of adventure and fun and kind of not following just what everyone else is doing. And so my why for having done these 2 through hikes now is for the adventure, and just because I want to. Like, the desire is there, so I'm going to do it. Like, if it's something I want to do, I'm going to do it. And yeah, I don't know, kind of simple, but that's just how I found that I like to live my life. And it's led to like the greatest possible things. And I'm just excited that, yeah, I'm 30 and now I've walked across the country twice, and I love that about my life. So yeah, I want to live a life that I am enjoying and I'm proud of.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And really the most profound things are simple.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Second part of that question then, Now that the Appalachian Trail, you've already done it, what is the main takeaway? What did the trail teach each of you?
It taught me that there's not some external magic thing that will change me. So as much as I'm doing this for me, sometimes baked into that like desire to want to do something like the Appalachian Trail is like hoping that the trail changes me in some perfect way. Like I hope by being out there I become the person I want to be. And the truth is you don't. Like it's an amazing experience. It changed me in a lot of ways, but I'm still me. I still
Yeah.
wherever I go there I am. Like I'm still the person I was when I started. And I just have this experience now. I have the lessons from that. And so this was this massive thing that I had mentioned living on that farm in New Hampshire. I met someone there who had hiked the Appalachian Trail, and this is his story, but for him, it did really change his life. He went from someone who was corporate offices working as a computer programmer to he's for the last 5 or 6 years been seasonally working on farms or on ski mountains, living out of a van, like truly a radical transformation. And I think there was a part of me, even though I didn't say it, that was maybe hoping to be radically transformed. But I've talked to that friend since, and his hike was so different than mine. Like he didn't use a phone. It was a very meditative solo experience for him. And through that is how he got on his path now. Now, having said all that, here I am living in Detroit with Pastor Frank. It was a radically transformation.
Your life's changed a little bit, huh?
My life has changed a lot. It's just never in a way I would have seen before. So maybe the lesson is like, there are things that are going to change me, but I don't have control over what the change is. I don't have control over who I am at the end of this experience. All I can do is be open to how the experience changes me.
Yeah. Excellent. Pastor Frank.
I would say what the AT specifically taught me is that you'll enjoy something as much as you resolve to enjoy something. I think like I went into the AT almost like bracing for it to be a struggle and a challenge, because you hear that like the AT is super challenging and the weather is it's always raining and the climbs are hard and you don't get any views. And so I think there's this like image around the AT that you ask people who've Triple Crown, they'll say the AT is their least favorite. And I just I don't know, that wasn't my experience, because I just made up my mind that like I'm gonna enjoy it for what it is. And like, yeah, there aren't these insane sweeping mountain views like you would get out west, but it's still beautiful in its own way. And so like, if you go into it just saying like, I'm going to enjoy this for what it is and what it has to offer me, then you'll get enjoyment out of it. But if you go into it expecting it to suck and be hard and you're just kind of like suffering through it to finish it, then yeah, that's what it's going to be. So I think the AT specifically showed me like, you can enjoy there's enjoyment out of anything. You can get and find enjoyment in any trail or experience if your mindset is to enjoy it.
Awesome. Before we close, I thought about something while we were talking that I actually forgot to write in the notes, which 3 weeks ago when we were setting this up, I thought to write this in the notes. But you guys, I have to credit the both of you individually at different points in time with kind of keeping me writing haikus, to be honest with you.
I love
because of the two of you, I probably wrote 100 to 150 more haikus in 2025 than I would have without you. And for Pastor Frank, there were just a couple of them that you not only liked in the Instagram group, but you also wrote, hey, I really like this one. This one connected with me. And that was huge. And then Frogger, you actually came out and said it in person at Devil's Backbone. You were like, I love that you're still writing those. Please keep doing it. And right around that time that both of these things happened, which the two events must have been only separated by a week or two at most. But right around the time, I'm thinking, I guess the channel had gone a little quiet too. So it's like the only thing in there for like 6 days straight are my haikus, right? So I'm like, are people just like rolling their eyes at this? Like, is this just silliness? But then you guys both inspired me to keep going, and I'm so glad I did, because I look back on it and like that's such an element of who Muse is, right? No, I kind of owe that to you guys, that one stayed till the end. So thank you.
Well, it was cool because we were ahead of you for most of the way, and so it was cool to like know the section that you were writing the haiku about, like having hiked through it ourselves, and then read your haiku about it, knowing what section it was, and hearing your poetic like perspective on it. I've got enjoyment out of it.
And
That's
if we
awesome.
were behind you, we'd see them in the trail log. So it's
Yeah.
Right.
the way we're seeing it.
Yeah, true. I wasn't seeing them in the trail log, so I liked still seeing them.
You know, one thing I did that I hadn't mentioned before, they were never the same. If I had written one in the trail log that day or whatever, or 2 or 3 in the trail logs, depending on how many trail logs I wrote in, I never used one of those in the Instagram group.
Oh.
So the podcast will never hear the trail log ones because they're not preserved in any
They're
way.
out
Wow.
there somewhere.
Great. Guys, thank you for this conversation and for being on the podcast. It was awesome catching up with you guys at Trail Days. I can't believe we've talked for an hour and I hadn't said that yet, but that was really cool. Trail Days was awesome.
Trail Days was fun. That was cool.
When this airs, we're going to be at the Hostel of Maine, so we're actually getting close to that. Until next time, this has been Muse.
This is Pastor Frank.
This is Frogger.
And you've been listening to Muse's AT podcast. Thank you for walking with me, and happy trails.
Happy trails. Yay.
Happy trails.
I'm here